without leaving a blast crater and so on and so forth. And he said the astronauts were aware of this, and this is the reason that he attributed to their reluctance to be interviewed and so on and so forth. He said it's a very complicated story, that he said most of the missions went to the moon. I didn't push him on that. But he said, yeah, he said those guys, he said it was all set up on a fake stage. That's not true. But some of the stuff was actually fabricated in preparation for this, so that the whole story would hang together in the public eye because of the complicated PR aspects of it and so on and so forth. Now,
do you know this person's background?
Yes, I do.
You know what role he played in NASA?
He wasn't in NASA. He wasn't in NASA.
Okay.
He's worked in a lot of black projects. He was an electronics specialist. He had the opportunity. He worked in Livermore. He worked for a lot of black projects. He knew people.
He worked for NOAA.
He asked questions. He wasn't involved in NASA. Well, he wasn't involved in the program.
Without talking to myself, because I think I know what you're talking about, my impression would be that he's another victim of the lies different at every level.
Okay.
He's been given, which satisfies his national security experience, the lie that they're covering up the technology.
I understand.
Because nowhere in his lexicon are they covering up ancient ruins.
Yes. It's not first-hand information he was giving us. It was something that I believe he had learned during the course of his work. But that
From someone else.
Because he was talking to a cop, and
yeah, right.
I absolutely understand.
So, but you understand how he can be honest and sincere and still totally mistaken.
It's the biggest problem.
Because it gives him something that makes sense to him. Oh, they're going to hide this technology. Which, of course, if we're right, there's been a secret development of real anti-gravity technology in parallel with the public official Apollo program. There are people, in fact, Joseph Farrell is one of the people in his books, this is before he got together with me, who raises this as a possibility. In fact, all the people that look at those LEM liftoffs and don't understand what they're seeing, because they don't have the proper background in physics. Everything we see, including, there are craters. I've seen close-ups under the LEM of the crater. What makes it so interesting is that when you blow away the dust, see, the natural model says that you've had dust falling on the moon for billions of years, which means it should be a nice, light, fluffy layer. So like snow, if I was to hold a rocket engine over snow after a snowstorm, you get a nice, beautiful crater, right? Instead, what the astronauts found from trying to stick in flags and do drilling and other experiments is underneath that thin surface, like a few inches, maybe an inch or two. The lunar surface is damn tough. It's hard. And it gets harder the deeper you go. That, of course, is in consonance with the idea that there are ruins underneath that surface. There's buildings down there. There's walls, there's beams, there's girders. The stuff you see above ground is only half the story. That's why on the current missions orbiting the moon tonight, as we're taping this, the Japanese unmanned mission, size of a Greyhound bus, the Chinese unmanned mission, size of a VW bus, they are loaded with dozens of instruments up to and including high-powered radars to ping the lower levels and see, I believe, the ruins underneath the lunar ground.
Okay, is it the ruins under the ground or is it an underground base?
Same difference. You mean, well, base implies
a modern day underground base.
The moon has the surface area of North and South America combined, 15 million square miles.
Right.
If we have a base there, it's pretty small. So most of the stuff you're going to find is ancient. And it's easy to separate the two.
Okay, do we have a base there in your opinion?
I don't know. In my opinion.
Do you think...
Given that there is probably, in all likelihood, a secret space program, I would imagine there is a base. There's probably more than one. You can't do everything from one place. I mean, could we explore this planet from one base? If you have the technology that can get there in a couple of hours, effortlessly using anti-gravity, and we do have shuttle video showing this technology, which I loaned to Art Bell some years ago, and he really kept the secret. I said, Art, just sit on this. Don't tell anybody. And he kept the secret. I eventually gave it to Whitley Strieber through Art. It wound up on NBC as part of Whitley's program. I firmly believe that stuff is our stuff. That we're not looking at ETs, we're not going to look at little grays, little alien guys, we're looking at our secret space program. And there are reasons, again, very careful reasons laid out in the book, why I think it's our stuff. Well, if that's true, it would be silly to imagine that we hadn't built a base or bases on the moon. If for no other reason, you need a place to function to loot all this stuff and bring the good stuff home.
Okay, we've heard that there are auroras flying shipments back and forth, and I guess people, I don't know.
Well, Aurora is a code name. It could mean anything.
Oh, really?
We know in the 1980s there were a series of sonic booms in the air over Los Angeles which were recorded coming in over the Pacific and then landing probably at Edwards, you know, the super secret research facility up there. We heard that they were Aurora. That's all we know. Remember, this is, you know, a mystery wrapped in an enigma shrouded by a constant veil of lies. So getting at the truth, unless you've got pictures, with a paper trail, with a pedigree, you can't believe. And even these, you have to do some decent analysis to understand what you're seeing. I mean, there are people that look at this and they say, Hoagland, I have a damn clue what I'm looking at. Because they don't understand how to think in terms of simple optical physics. They've never driven toward the sunset in the afternoon with the sun shining on their dirty windshield to realize that they're seeing dirty windshields. Okay, a key prediction. Remember, science is nothing if it's not prediction. A key prediction of the whole lunar dome model, the ancient lunar dome model, that somebody was there, they lived there, they built incredible extensive stuff. Apollo was sent there to find out what they could bring home with the primitive rocket technology of the 1950s and 60s. We're doing a lot better now, by the way, secretly. And one of the key predictions of the model is that if you have glass domes, glass ruins, people who live in glass houses see prisms. They see stunning arrays of color. And if you lived in a glass house and you looked at the sun or you looked at the reflections and all that, you should see prisms over and over and over again. In these photographs, the model says that we should be able to find prisms. So I started looking. And this is a picture from Apollo 17. You can just see a hint. This is one of the newly scanned, leaked images that somebody's putting 16 megabyte files. So anybody out there can go to the web and download them and use Photoshop, and bingo, you'll confirm exactly what is there. If you turn up the gain, right up here, above these mountains, which aren't mountains, by the way, they're old eroded ecologies, you find a prism.